everyone. Welcome to the preview show delivered by FedEx Racing. I'm your host, Alan Cavanna. Joining me, as always, TNT pit reporter Marty Snider. Marty, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited for California this weekend. I think it's going to be a very exciting race off of what I thought was a terrific Bristol race.
Awesome Bristol race. We saw side-by-side racing, we saw the beating and banging, and we saw some fireworks post-race a little bit with former teammates Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano, and then they took it to Twitter. I don't mind their words on Twitter too much as long as we see some of the stuff on the track. So what do you think about this? I mean, are we going to see some retaliation from the Logano side of it?
It's so funny that this is what we're talking about when I thought the race was so outstanding and it kind of played out like we thought it would play out. Casey Kane made that top groove work, but I don't think it's really going to continue from here. I agree with Denny Hamlin. I think the feud should be over with. I think Joey Logano's already gotten his revenge. If you look at the end of that race, Denny Hamlin should have finished in the top 5, or at least top 3 in my opinion. But look at the last restart. Denny Hamlin knocks into Brad Keselowski. Well, why did he knock into Brad Keselowski? Because Joey Logano had his rear wheels off the ground. And what that did to Denny Hamlin's car is it knocked in the radiator. It caused a tire rub on the right front on the inside. It took Denny Hamlin from a top 5 finish to finishing 23rd. So I think right now revenge is too soon. And honestly, I agree with Denny Hamlin. He's already gotten his revenge.
I think there should be some tit for tat. I wouldn't mind seeing it at Martinsville. That might be your first chance. And if you get too far into the chase, that costs you everything.
It's too soon. Plus, the Penske culture doesn't allow for getting revenge on another driver.
We'll see.
I think he'll be reminded of that.
Speaking of Penske culture, Brad Keselowski, defending champion, has continued a hot start to the season with 4 top 5 finishes. And there's another driver with a hot start, the most popular driver in NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with 4 top 10s. Now, what I want to know, Marty, is why are these two drivers in their stories, some of them, it seems like, the most undercovered stories in NASCAR?
Because they're not fighting. They're not getting out there and throwing punches at someone.
Who's more under the radar, Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Brad Keselowski, even though they're the top
It's a great question.
Points?
Yeah, I think Junior certainly is more under the radar in my opinion. But it's funny because Steve Letarte and I have talked about this moment for 2 years. This is where he's wanted to get to with Junior, where every little finish wasn't magnified with where Junior finished and where top 10s became routine. This is exactly where this race team wants to be. They will be a championship threat this year. I promise you, Junior is going to win more than one race this year. I think this is a team that's going in the right direction. And yeah, Keselowski has had a terrific start to the season, strung together more top 5s in a row than he's ever strung together in his career. I think they'll continue their consistency, but for my money, I think Junior's the guy who's undercovered, and I think but that's exactly where they want to be, I think.
Hard to believe we'd ever say that.
I know. He's undercovered, folks.
Well, moving on, let's see if he can continue this hot start. Moving on to Auto Club Speedway, Auto Club 400 out in California, and we've seen high speeds, whether it be testing or some of the races with this new Gen 6 car. We asked Greg Biffle what he thinks they should expect out in California. He thinks the Gen 6 car will stand out.
Fontana's a fun racetrack. The thing I like about it, you can run, 3 and 4 wide at Fontana. You can't wait to get the Gen 6 car there. That track's a lot flatter. It drives really, really flat, and I think that's where this car is really going to shine with the rear camber and the added downforce it has. I think, turn 1 and 2 at California is really where it's going to be good.
All right, Marty, you heard what Greg Biffle had to say, and this is another track that's, we haven't been to a track like this yet on the Gen 6 car, a 2-mile oval like California. So what can we expect? More of the same with this new Gen 6 car? What can we expect in an oval like this?
I like what he said about the rear camera. What you're going to notice with that is that fans over the last couple of years have kind of gotten used to the cars looking like they're yawed out going down the backstretch. They won't see that this time around. They should look a little more straight, which I think fans will enjoy. I think the opportune word for the weekend is going to be speed. I think corner entry speed at California is going to be incredible. I think 210, 215 even maybe. I think it's going to be incredibly fast this weekend. And people forget, now that we only come to this racetrack at Auto Club once a year, they forget that this surface is a little old, worn out. And that's a fantastic thing. This surface is going to have an effect on tires. The bumps are very much a factor this weekend.
We've talked to drivers, talked to Steve Letarte, Darian Grubb now. Earn your money. Who's winning the race?
I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. And the reason I go with Kyle Busch is the last 2 races at Fontana, he's led the most laps, 0 wins to show for it. You look at Bristol last week. They had the fastest race car, speeding penalty. Put them back in the pack. They got back to second. You look at the week before at Vegas, fastest race car all weekend long. I think at California, speed is going to be the key, so I'm going to go with Kyle Busch.
I'm going one of those drivers that is undercovered. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let me hear it, Junior. Yeah, I can hear Junior Nation cheering.
That's like the 19th week in a row you've picked him.
Because eventually he's going to win, and so far I've been close to being right. I mean, he started the season with 4 top 10s. He likes those aging tracks. He had a good finish there last season. And what's the last track he won at? Oh, in Michigan. Very similar to
very
California.
good.
So I'm
You're
picking.
starting to think, Cavanna. That's starting to worry me. You're starting to think in the right direction,
We'll
too.
see what I can do. And then when he wins, we'll finally cover him, right?
Yeah, exactly,
All right.
exactly.
Well, for Marty Snider, that does it for the preview show delivered by FedEx Racing. I'm your host, Alan Cavanna. Have a great weekend and enjoy the race.